All right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always, with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 144. This is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get on with the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and visit us on Twitter and Tumblr. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PSN, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. And as always, you can write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. And most importantly, don't forget to share this show with your friends and be sure to leave comments and rate this podcast as you see fit. They better be good comments. Apologies to anyone who's expecting us to send this episode out on a normal schedule. Most of you know Father's Day was this Sunday, and family always comes first here at PS This Is Awesome. So we apologize for being a little bit late on this one. But Jake, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. All right, so I got something to bitch about this week.
No. All right, let's hear it.
It's not video game related at all, so I'll keep it short.
That's fine. It'll be a good icebreaker.
So, Fred, do you use Adobe Creative Cloud?
No, I don't, because I won't pay for it.
Dude, okay, that's the fucking thing I want to bitch about. All right, this is, okay,
Why do you have it?
I don't, okay, but listen to me. I have... for work, I deal with enterprise level licensing all the time for different pieces of software. You know, I understand when companies, you know, like somebody that has a piece of super good software, like, you know, for this instance, let's just say Photoshop, even though I'm
sure,
I'm not familiar with it, right?
Fine. Yeah,
okay, so if Adobe wants to sell Photoshop to a business that is going to use it to make money, I can understand them charging like $1,000 a year or something, or $2,000 a year, so something crazy. You know, that would sound crazy, right?
Right.
But what fucking, like, why is it? Answer me this: why is it that they want to charge me, a fucking consumer who literally just wants to maybe put some music and effects on my cat videos and upload them to YouTube?
Are you talking about Premiere?
Why the fuck are you charging me $60 a month for Creative Cloud? That's so fucking insane to me.
So they have different tiers, and this is the thing that drives me nuts. And as you know, Jake, we play in a band together now. If I want to make t-shirt designs or I want to do graphics for my website, I mean, everybody knows that Adobe is king shit with all these programs, right? They have Adobe Premiere, they have Adobe Lightroom, they have Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. They have all these awesome, very, very useful programs, and nobody really does it better. And there are free versions online, but they all kind of suck comparatively. And if you're familiar with one brand, then you stick with it. Half the reason I've stuck with PlayStation is because I'm just familiar in their ecosystem. So I have been using Adobe for even Dreamweaver is a website building tool they had. I don't know if they still make it, but anyways, Adobe Dreamweaver is something I learned some website building on. Anyway, so the bottom line, Jake, is this. I have the same problem with them, and I can't answer the question to you because I don't have an answer. It's stupid. So the problem is that I'm running into actually right now. It's very pertinent to bring up. So I have a t-shirt design that I wrote a couple of different places, get quotes for, you know, Fred Oakman, my music project. And the lady was like, oh man, that's a super awesome logo graphic t-shirt design. I would hope that you go with me. Here's what I'm going to charge. And then she proceeds to say, I hope that you can convert these to vectors. So here's the thing. When Adobe Photoshop, I think to have Photoshop, I want to say to have Photoshop, you pay monthly for it. It's like the base tier. And it doesn't include Premiere. And I'm guessing you want Premiere for your videos. So I can recommend a free video editing software that's actually really good that I use all the time now. And that's called DaVinci Resolve. And it's 100% free, unless you want to use like their super special stuff. They have like
I actually, to be fair, I actually downloaded Resolve. I'm going to try it out.
It's awesome.
It's just that I haven't gotten to it yet because I actually need to upgrade the video card in my computer to be able to use Resolve because it doesn't support the card that I have. But I am interested in that as an alternative. But I get what you're saying about, dude. It's just
here's the bullshit thing. So she was like, I hope you convert this to vector graphics or whatever, because it's easier for them to separate the layers, to do the screen prints, whatever, Part of her setting up the screens is her job. I give her a logo, then she should just be able to set it up. And I'm not shitting on her by any means, because it is a pain in the ass. In fact, it's such a pain in the ass that I don't know that I have the layers, but converting them to vectors, because one is like an outline. So to make the outline what I did, because the way that the image was selected, if anyone knows anything about Photoshop or doing outlines and layer masks and all that stuff, you can just essentially recreate the same image, give it a color overlay, and make it a little wider and put it underneath the image that you want. And then the wider image actually can become this really neat kind of scaled looking border. And that's what I did to make the borders. So if she wants these broken down by vector images, I'm guessing she doesn't want to lay down a whole thing of paint and then throw a whole nother thing of paint on top of it. She wants the specific border as a vector graphic. So what I'm getting to is, a long time ago, our buddy Scott, he has a screen printing place. He does super high-end quality shirts, like super high-end with like non-plastisol inks and like t-shirts where you can't even feel the ink at all on the shirts. And, he makes really high-quality stuff, but I can't afford to go through him. But he recommended a program called Affinity Photo. And Affinity Photo was a one-time payment of like $50. And I was like, is this as good as Photoshop? And he goes, dude, you can do everything on Affinity Photo that you can do on Photoshop, or vice versa. He goes, there are graphic designers that I work with at work that use this. They swear by it because of the payment structure is that of the old school, that you're not committed to paying $10, $15 every month for a photo program that you maybe use once a month or twice a month. It just doesn't justify the cost. So I went and I got Affinity Photo. And I've been learning it, and it is a different ecosystem. It's different. You have to learn where the functions are, the certain shortcut keys, all that stuff. I got it all figured out. I'm doing all right. I got this new shirt design. I had 2 artists draw it up. It's a really nice design. I got it all set up. We're good to go. I was Googling today at lunch when I was at work how to convert layers to vector graphics in Affinity Photo. And everybody was like, you can't do it in Affinity Photo. You can do it in Photoshop, though. And it's like, I'm so pissed off right now, because it's funny you bring this up, because I'm not going to buy Photoshop. I'm going to figure out a way to do it in Affinity or download some third-party program for $15 that'll do it for me. So anyways, I'm done with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's like, that's how they're like, fucking stealing people's money, because it's like, because you literally only have to do that one thing, and
one time ever.
Financially, it kind of makes sense for you to just fuck it. I'll pay $20 and subscribe for Photoshop for 1 month, just to convert these fucking pictures, and then I'll cancel my subscription. Well, they just got $20 off you for literally doing something that you shouldn't have to pay for,
right?
And it's just like, everything that's worthwhile is going to a subscription model now, and I fucking hate it.
I hope Logic doesn't, man.
Dude, Logic that's the one thing is like that makes me so, I guess, kind of like I don't have a Mac or anything like that, but one of the things I always appreciated about Apple's creative
it always just updates.
That they're always one-time purchases, and they're always really good products for really reasonable prices. I think Logic Pro is still only like $200.
Yeah,
which is
and
insane.
They update it. They roll out these huge updates. We just got a brand new update on like a beat maker thing that's really, really cool and easy to use. So yes, you are correct. And yes, it is super frustrating.
And in the music industry, it's like, Pro Tools. You can't buy Pro Tools outright anymore. I mean, you have to subscribe to it, which is fucking stupid. Now, they do have like a quote unquote free version of it, but you can only do like 2 tracks or something. It's basically useless if you want to record a band, right? So, but it is, I guess, maybe kind of a way you can learn or whatever. But it's just like I could understand maybe Photoshop doing what they're doing if they had like a free or introductory like version of it, or maybe like a one-time purchase version that was like, you don't get any updates or anything, but you get like what this version
as the program is right now,
and it doesn't have like all these crazy features like chroma key and shit like that. Like, okay, like I don't really need any of that crazy shit. I just want like a rock solid industry proven video editor to do simple stuff. Like I don't. I'm not trying to create.
DaVinci's where it's at.
Yeah, so I'm going to check out why. Like I said, I already have it installed. I just have to get a new fucking video card.
I can't believe that DaVinci is free. If you guys watch our our YouTube channel, the intro thing that I did, the particle effects, I did that with DaVinci Resolve, and that's a free program. So, I mean, I just got online and learned how to use some of their, I don't even know what they're called, Farlight or something codes. And it's really interesting, man. I think you're really going to like the DaVinci Resolve stuff. It's really cool. It's a very good program.
Yeah, it's weird because I looked into it and it's like professional level video editing.
Yeah, I don't know how it's free.
Like there are some features that are behind a paywall, but like the basic version is like pretty much unlocked for the 99.9% of users as far as what you would need out of a video editor.
Yeah.
So like,
and the rendering is very fast too.
That's cool. I mean, you have a pretty fucking legit computer, so that's probably one of the reasons why it's fast for you. But yeah, I get. I mean, I'm sure that they probably optimized it because I didn't realize this, but apparently, I mean, this is maybe people out here are going to listen to this and be like, "Oh, you guys are fucking idiots," but like. I didn't realize like
I thought be like, when are you going to talk about PlayStation? Rendering,
yeah, good. But like historically, like video rendering and like music rendering and stuff was all done on the CPU. And like so, I got this new computer and I got a new CPU and all this stuff in it. And then I'm talking to my buddy and he's like, all that shit's done on the video card now. And I'm like, what? So I have like this old, like a brand new computer, but I just put
doesn't help that anymore.
Yeah, so it's got new RAM, new video card, new mother, or sorry, not new video card because I just pulled the video card out of my other computer. So now it's like, so like all these fucking videos editing softwares they all use like modern video card technology. So they don't support, unless I'm using like some older open source video editing suite, it doesn't do open source or it doesn't support the video card that I have. So now I got to look for a new fucking video card and that's another
that sucks.
$200. And I don't know. It's just something I wanted to play with is like a hobby. It's just annoying that it's like, oh, I want to start this hobby. Well, here's this fucking huge paywall. It's like, okay, well,
yeah, it's hard to get into anything these days. It's always expensive. But let's talk about some PlayStation, Jake. I appreciate that icebreaker. It's good to talk with you today. I'm glad you're having the same frustrations that I've been experiencing over the past couple days. We both know that The Last of Us Part 2 came out, so we're both clearly playing that game a little bit right now. And I also still have Assassin's Creed Origins on the back burner. Jake, are you playing anything besides The Last of Us Part 2 right now?
I've been playing a little bit of Hollow Knight. I haven't played it too much. I don't think it's something that I'm gonna ever complete because I've gotten to this point where, and I'm sure the listeners will be like, "Ooh, you're not a fucking real gamer" and shit like that. But it's like, I just don't have the time and patience for these like hardcore roguelike,
I know.
If you die, you lose all your resources kind of fucking games.
Well, they're infuriating.
It's just one of these things where it's like you dive and you go deeper into the dungeon. It's like Rogue Legacy. Like you go deeper into the dungeon and then you have to make it all the way back out with all your treasure and then you can upgrade your shit and like keep going deeper and then you come back, So like it's cool. Like the visuals are really cool, even though it's really depressing because it's all gray and black and white. Yeah. The visuals are really cool. It's kind of it's not like a Limbo vibe, but it's like that similar, like where it's really dark and black and white kind of vibe to it. I bought it for like $2 because it was on sale and everyone was like, Hollow Knight's the greatest fucking Metroidvania
thing ever made
game, of the time period when it came out. I was like, I'll give it a shot and it's cool, and I'm sure that like once you get better at it's one of those things, once you get better at it, you get more interested to keep going and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But like right now with everything that I got going on, I mean, I want something that I can like play a little bit. I die, I just have a checkpoint that I go back to. It's, I don't have to worry about losing all of my progress.
No, I understand that. Essentially playing a game like that to me feels like what it would feel like if you were trying to build a tower of cards and you got about halfway done and it just collapses. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just start again because that was a lot of fun. And then you just keep doing it over and over and over. It's like consistently failing in those games just like makes it seem like it's not worth your time. Even if you're getting a little bit stronger and a little bit better. When I set out to do things, like I want to do them. And those games I just feel beaten down when I play them. It just drives me crazy. And I get that's the mechanic. That is the purpose of the game. That is the fun of it. That is the game of itself, is how far can you get now that we've made your guy a little stronger. It just literally feels to me like that's the best analogy I can make, is like if someone gave me a deck of cards and they said, build a house of cards, and I got started and then someone just came by and just knocked it over. So I don't know. That's just how I feel. Real quick. So all right. So that's what you're playing. News, Jake. Did you hear about all the review bombing that's happening over at Metacritic regarding The Last of Us Part 2?
I have heard about it, but I literally haven't looked up anything video game related on the internet since The Last of Us came out, specifically because I don't want anything to happen. And it's probably going to cause some issues with presenting, informed commentary on this podcast.
That's fine.
Until I beat the game. But like, it's one of those things where the other day I think there was a movie that came out or something. I was curious about it and I was like, I wonder how that movie did. And I went like metacritic.com, and then as soon as the fucking page started to load, I just closed it. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, because I completely forgot that they just splash on the front screen all the recent reviews for like, games and movies and all that kind of shit. So,
well, I will say that
I got.
Right now, Metacritic has the critic score has The Last of Us Part 2 at a 96 out of 100.
Mm-hmm.
Now, users can log in and rate the game. It has a user score of 4. No joke.
That's hilarious.
It has a user score of 4. It is just getting bombed by people. And I'm guessing a lot of the reason that it's getting bombed, and I'm not going to go into story details or anything, is because Naughty Dog has in the past have put things in their games about equality and about all these different things. And I feel like there are gamers, and it's probably like just a bunch of young kids who are just being a bunch of dickheads who are just throwing these terrible scores up to try to bomb Last of Us. Now, let me say this. With that being said, that kind of speaks to the fact that review bombing a game doesn't really hurt it, because The Last of Us Part 2 is the fastest selling PlayStation 4 game ever right now. Yes, it is.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I didn't look up. I didn't want to really see what the review was for The Last of Us. I don't really care that you told me, but like, the fact that it's a 97, I don't know this for certain, but that's got to be like up there with the highest ever reviewed games. Now, it will probably drop eventually, but
it actually went up. Yesterday it was 95. Today it's 96.
I think the highest rated game on Metacritic is like Breath of the Wild or something stupid like that, and I think it's a 96 or a 97.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fucking impressive, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, you and I both started playing the game, and we're not going to spoil it for anybody. So if you're tuned in, don't worry. But I just want to throw this out here that, like, as of where I'm at now, I'm considerably further into the game than you. I want to say I'm approaching like 15 hours in.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand how you make a game like this. Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand how, 7 years of every day clocking in and clocking out with a team of really dedicated, video game developers with a very solid sense of quality, sure. But I just don't understand how you make a game like this. Like, it's a big game. It's a big game. I thought I was done. About 5 hours ago. But it just keeps going. And it's not like a Red Dead Redemption 2 game where it's a huge open world where you can just dick around forever and just say, well, I put 500 hours into that game. Like, this is a linear story. And it's really, really good. So we'll have a Last of Us spoiler podcast, no doubt.
Sure.
Do you have anything you want to say about it, non-spoiler, like any kind of initial impressions or anything without diving into any spoiler?
I have a couple of things.
Yeah, I want you to say what you want to say because I'm ahead of you and I don't want to give away anything.
So, first of all, you expect the story to be next level just because of who's doing the game.
Right.
And so like that's not really surprising to me. What's surprising to me about the game is the level of detail that they put into like the dumbest shit. It just makes it that much more amazing. Like just something as simple as if you've played the first Last of Us game, there are these workbenches where you put where you upgrade your weapons and shit like that. Well, there's the same thing in this game, but it's like when she's upgrading her weapons, like she's actually like taking them apart and like putting them, like if you know anything about guns,
the spring and shit,
like if you know anything about guns, for example, like if you are disarming a handgun, right, you pull out the magazine, you lock the slide back and pull the round out of the chamber, and you lock the slide back, and that's how you put a handgun in a safe state. Well, she does that every single time, and then before she even works on it, and she does similar things to like the pistol and the revolver and the shotgun. And anytime she makes a modification, she actually is modifying the guns. And it like just one more thing real quick about that. Like even if, you know, if you're in the menu, right, and I have a big problem with this where I'll switch between all my guns and just kind of fret about which one I should put my points into. Yeah. And like if I pulled open the handgun or the pistol, right, and she's got it all racked back and everything, and then I switch over to the revolver and she takes all the bullets out of that, if I go back to the pistol, it's still locked back and open. Like she doesn't redo that animation again. It's like the attention to detail on little shit like that is really what makes it special.
It's like the characters making their mind up like you are. Like it's just so cool. I was going to just add, like, you know, as with the first Last of Us, and I wouldn't even think this is spoilery, because there are different things that you can do to upgrade your weapons, right? So if your pistol, if you want to make it more stable, you can add like a compensator so the kick isn't as bad. What they do is it goes further. You get the gun ready to make modifications to it, and then you see the modification kind of get made and put on the gun. So like you put like a little bit of a what do they call that? A stabilizer or something on the front of the pistol or whatever. So like you say, okay, I want to like a counterweight, essentially use this or that or whatever. And then you put your points towards it, and then you can see the gun change on the workbench and the stuff get done to it. And it's just so awesome. That's a very good point. One of the little details, Jake, that I know you've experienced, and maybe they had it in The Last of Us Part 1, I don't know, is if there's snow on a tree and you walk by it or bump it, the snow falls off it like it would in real life. And like, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, there's all kinds of just little things like that in the game while you're playing it. I mean, there's a million things like that in the game while you're playing it that just, you know, they just...
It looks so good.
It's one of those things where you wouldn't really notice it so much. I mean, you do, but the only reason you notice it is you're like, why does this feel so real? You know what I mean? Or alive. Like, cause you know, it's a game, right? You know, you're not Ellie. You're playing as Ellie, but it's like, you're not like immersed to the point. It's not like Skyrim where you're like a voiceless protagonist and you're playing through the game. Like, you're viewing her story, but it's all the shit around it that makes it feel like a real world that they're actually going through, which really is amazing. Incredible.
Yeah.
Now,
I
will say I do have one problem with the game so far.
It's not spoilery, is it?
No, it's not at all.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a mechanical problem. And this is something that is maybe this is maybe a issue with it might be considered subjective, and I'll tell you why. Because my biggest problem with the game is that because they add all of these extra, like anytime you pick up something, she like puts it in her bag. Yeah. It's not like in the Last of Us game where it's almost like a meme where Joel will be sneaking around and he just like waves his arms in front of him and picks stuff up.
Yeah, stuff just disappears.
Like, in this game, she's actually picking shit up and like putting it in her pack behind her and stuff. Yeah. And like when she changes weapons, she's actually putting her gun away and pulling out another one. There's all these animations that support all this stuff. And it looks really great and it looks real. The problem is that the response time on all of these actions is immediately doubled and sometimes tripled because he has to go through all these fucking animations before you get to the next thing. So if you imagine like you're in a fight with some infected, and you got a clicker coming at you and you run out of ammo and you go to switch to your shotgun, well, clicker kills you in one hit. So it's like, oh, now I'm backed into a corner and I can't wait 3 seconds to pull out my fucking shotgun because you got to do this damn animation.
I like that though, but go ahead. I understand.
Right. But it's not like that I can it's frustrating.
It is frustrating
from a video game perspective, but I can understand it. What bothers me is where it gets in the way of totally innocuous things. Like whenever I pick something up, like a trading card, for example, like this is not a spoiler, but there are these trading card things that you can collect, right? I pick up a trading card, and when I pick it up, if I press and hold, if I press the touchpad down, and you can press the touchpad to view it when you pick it up.
Right.
If you press the touchpad down too soon before the animation completes, it just opens the map up and completely ignores like what you were trying.
Then you got to go into the menu to go find it to look at it.
It's so fucking frustrating. I'm sitting there and I'm like smashing the damn fucking touchpad, and
there are little things like that.
It's not ruining the game for me, but
close.
I'm sure that you've experienced the same shit that I'm talking about.
I'll tell you the one thing. The one thing that I've experienced, Jake, and I haven't read any reviews yet about it, but the one thing that I've experienced about The Last of Us Part 2, and this isn't spoilery, anytime there's AI, and just like with the first Last of Us, Ellie, when you were Joel, Ellie would follow Joel around, and that became an issue because
I know where you're going with this, and I agree with you 100%.
She was like this. Maybe this is. I think I might be a little left field here, but Ellie could be visible by the enemies or not visible, but to the player, that Ellie would be in the way, in like there's no way the enemies didn't see her, right? And it wouldn't like trigger anything, so it kind of broke your immersion a little bit. My issue is the conversations that I have with the partners in the game that are with me. I have missed 1 or 2 optional dialogues because for some reason I feel like it was better in the first Last of Us. You could have a conversation with a person, and if you walked far enough away, they would just stop talking and say, well, let's continue this later. And then when you met back up, they do it in Uncharted 4 Lost Legacy also. You meet back up with them, they say, well, where was I? And they would continue the conversation. I am running into issues where I'm missing dialogue in The Last of Us Part 2 because the AI will be so far from me, but the volume doesn't get loud. They don't raise their voice. And the only thing it ever does, the volume of the AI's conversation with me is harder to hear because they're further away, but they don't yell. Oh, by the way, what I was saying was, they don't raise their voice. So it's like you're right there next to them, but you're not. And then sometimes I can't find the AI when they're talking to me. I feel like they're disappearing and reappearing in weird places. It's happened 3 or 4 times to me now. I thought it happened one time, but it didn't. And I saw him in the shadows, but I've lost the companions that you travel around this world with from time to time. And I feel like Naughty Dog has done a better job at that. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. So for what you're saying, you were kind of going, you didn't say exactly what I was thinking, but they did not do what you're talking about in The Last of Us, the first one, but they did do it in Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy, which was their next 2 games, which is surprising that they didn't integrate that into The Last of Us Part 2. Like, why not bring that feature in forward? It doesn't
because it was
really
a great
make
feature.
Sense. Because I agree with you. Like there are times whenever I'll be having an optional conversation with, the whatever character is with me. But I'm like, at the same time, I'm walking around trying to find resources and stuff. And like, I will like not be able to hear what the fuck, they're saying because they're not close enough to me and they're kind of like mumbling over in a corner as
and they don't
follow me or like yell out like you're saying or say, oh, we'll talk about this later. Or even if Ellie were to like interrupt and say like, fuck it, I got to go look at some shit. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. Yeah. And it makes the option, you miss these optional conversations.
And then give the prompt again. If it didn't complete, right? They should break it off if you get within so many whatever steps from the character. And then if it doesn't complete, there should be something in the coding that allows you to restart that the next time you get within range of that character again. But it doesn't. Like once you miss it, you fucking miss it. And then it's like, and there's so much to miss in this fucking game, which drives me crazy because we're not going to get into spoilery. Let's just talk about it another time. But
yeah. So my one last related thing that I will say that I thought you were going to get to is one of the things, and I noticed this when I was playing The Last of Us Part 1 last week in preparation for this, is that one of the most frustrating things about this game is so much of the combat is based on stealth and sneaking, and because you have very limited resources, and nothing drives me more absolute fucking ape shit than whenever I can't get somewhere because my companion is in the fucking way. And you can't, because it's not like
when
like
they're
other
blocking
games
your ability
play,
to
like
move.
in Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, like in Final Fantasy VII Remake, like if your companions are with you because they're always running around with you, and you get to a section where you have to go through a space, you just walk through them. Like it's not like, and I get it that that's immersion breaking, and they probably didn't want to do that for The Last of Us because it might look kind of weird or whatever. But it's like it's so like if that's the case, then it should be a thing where like your companion just perpetually stays a mile from you when you're in a combat state, because it's so frustrating to like try and, sneak around this like battlefield area in a very, strategic manner to take out these runners before taking out these clickers, or trying to get these guys because they're more armed than you and all this stuff. Right. And then it's like, oh, well, I fucking was trying to get away so I wouldn't be seen, and I bumped into whoever that's with me, and then since I couldn't get around them, I got fucking seen. And then I had to redo this whole scenario because I got my ass killed. And speaking of the realism, one last thing, and then we'll move on from The Last of Us. And this is just something that, like, from the realism perspective that bothers me, is that like why is it that in this hyper-realistic, post-apocalyptic world, I can understand not having any resources, only having a few bullets because I'm searching all this fucking old wasteland stuff and everything to scavenge for what I need. How come, that's the case for me, but every fucking enemy I come across has infinite bullets, and then whenever I kill them, they don't have any left for me to pick up?
That's like fair.
It's one of those things where it's like, I get it. Like, you're scaling the difficulty by doing this. But at the same time, it's like, dude, if you're going to commit to the fucking realism, make it so that the enemies the AI is like safer about their like maybe they're like, I only have
ammo. They never run out of ammo.
Yeah. So even if you give them like a shitload of bullets, like even if you give them like fucking 30 bullets in a handgun, make them say like, oh, well, like I'm almost out, or I'm reloading, or like maybe instead of, they'll like try to sneak up on you if they start running out of bullets because they're fucking running out of ammo too. And then maybe when you kill them, maybe you haven't thought about this as much as I have, but
I haven't thought about that. It does frustrate me when I need ammo and I kill all these guys, and then I'm looking at their bodies, and like maybe out of the 5 people I kill, one person has 2 bullets. And I'm like, God damn, I need more bullets.
Yeah, it's one of the. It's so you like walk around like a military depot, and then you find a fucking box of ammo, and there's 1 bullet in it. It's like, come on, seriously.
Yeah. Or you're in like somebody's residential home, and in like their computer desk, you find a bullet to a revolver. And you're like, I'm glad they left us here.
Yeah,
but no, yeah. I mean, it's a game. It's a fucking game. But nitpicking aside, man. I mean, I couldn't be happier with this game. 100% honest. Like this is really filling in this void. And I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins, and just as I finally kind of like surrendered to the idea of playing this game through Assassin's Creed, that is, Last of Us Part 2 drops, and man, Assassin's Creed Origins just pales in comparison as far as everything goes. And Last of Us Part 2, I believe, is the video game that's going to possibly ruin the rest of my video game experiences for third-person games, like that take themselves semi-seriously. It's just done so well, so expertly. And, for the listeners out there, Jake and I are going to dedicate an entire episode to talking about this story and everything, because I know you're just as jazzed about it as I am. And although you've been going a little slower at it, you have your own home projects going on. I was able to commit like a lot of time towards it, and I can't wait to dive back in. And I'm a little nervous that I'm getting close to the end of it as it is, but I don't know. I don't know how close the end is in. I think I'm close. I don't know though. I don't want it to end. It's just it's so good. I just don't want the game to end. But anyways, we'll leave it there. But expect The Last of Us Part 2 spoiler cast where we talk about everything. Maybe not next week, maybe not the week after, but maybe after that week, just because I know we're playing at different rates. And I don't want Jake to have to rush through his experience to feel obligated to talk about it on the show. So take your time with that game. You've waited 7 years to play it. Enjoy it. Pace yourself. And then we'll get back and talk more about that. But I don't know if you saw Ready at Dawn was purchased by Facebook.
What?
Yeah. The Ready at Dawn, for those who don't know or can't remember, they were responsible for The Order. I remember it being like a graphically impressive game and it had like a really great setting, but the game was really lackluster itself, the game itself. But yeah, this was on Push Square that Ready at Dawn was recently purchased by Facebook. That's so weird to me.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. I mean, Ready at Dawn, when they were done with The Order, they started making a bunch of like VR games or something, I think. Right?
I don't know what they did, man. I have no clue what they made.
That could be why Facebook purchased them, because I think that they switched to making a bunch of VR games, and Facebook owns Oculus now.
They make that racing game? Rigs? iRigs? Or something?
Well, Rigs was made by Gorilla Cambridge.
That's what I'm talking about. Never mind. iRig. That's like a music thing. I have an iRig. Yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. All right. Well, anyway, so that
I'm guessing that's why. I mean, it is still kind of weird, but I'm sure that's probably why they were purchased.
Cool. We don't know the PlayStation Plus games yet coming out for 2020 July, but we do know that it is going to be PS Plus's 10-year anniversary in July. So that's exciting. What are we going to get? Are they going to surprise us with some extra cool stuff? Who knows?
Knowing Sony, it'll probably be something totally fucking lackluster and stupid because they won't even realize that it's the 10-year anniversary.
It'll be like a background for the PS4,
yeah.
You know? It'll just be the PS Plus logo, nothing even cool.
Yeah.
It won't even be dynamic.
And it'll come complete. It'll come complete with a fucking PSN hack.
Yeah. They should make fun of themselves for that. So Crash Bandicoot, It's About Time is the name of the game, was officially revealed for the PS4. It looks like it's being developed by Toys for Bob, and Activision is also involved. I've never heard of Toys for Bob. I don't know what they've made. That's interesting because I think Crash a Naughty Dog game?
Crash was a Naughty Dog game.
It was.
Yeah.
Before Jak and Daxter.
Remember it was in Uncharted 4.
Correct, yeah. So there's a new Crash, so the IP must have been sold off or whatever, at least for this game, or licensed out. I don't know. And then just so you guys know that the PlayStation blog, it does appear to be up and running again. They have posted the drop. It's just PlayStation.blog. Or blog.playstation.com, I think is what it is. And they're always putting interesting videos on there. So if you guys are bored some days and you just want to go up there and look, and I'm not like trying to advertise for them, but right now they posted a behind the scenes with Gorilla regarding the Horizon Forbidden West, a little more deep dive into that game and what they're working on. So if you're not worried about spoilers, I don't even know if there's any spoilers in it. I doubt that there are, but they talk with the developer a little bit, which is kind of nice. And Jake, Star Wars Squadrons was announced. This game looks super interesting and cool. It's VR compatible. It's coming very soon, October 2nd. This was announced at the EA. I don't know if it's announced at the EA Play, but they definitely showed it again. The game's going to feature a single player mode and an online mode featuring 5 versus 5 dogfights. There is a Motive logo on the EA page. Is that the developer Motive? I've never heard of Motive. I went to the site and it looks like they're based out of Canada. It seems like they're a developer team, but the game appears to have a very like X-Wing TIE fighter kind of in the cockpit game, which I 100% loved as a kid. So I'm really thrilled about this announcement. And I also heard on another podcast that the price point's going to be like $40, $39.99, and there's single players. So Jake, what's your opinion of this?
I fucking loved X-Wing versus TIE Fighter when I was a kid on PC.
Oh, I loved it too.
And I hope that this is like a spiritual successor to that. I don't know. Knowing like EA's history with fucking Star Wars, they'll probably ruin it. But
I don't think so. I think this one's going to be right.
I certainly hope so. But I mean, when they announced that it was like a 5-on-5, like even the name Squadrons, like you can tell that this game is being built from the ground up for multiplayer fucking space battles. And that's why I'm hoping that it's not a Battlefront 2 scenario where you've got a pretty decent multiplayer pack buttressed by a fucking piece of shit single player mode.
Like great game mechanics, great graphics, great everything, VR compatible, but a lackluster single player.
Right. And like I'm afraid that what it's going to end up being is it's just going to be the multiplayer shit with fucking bots. And that's going to be super annoying. Like I want a story, you know, like why do I give a shit about this person that's flying this X-Wing or this TIE fighter? Like it would be cool for you to like, when you start the campaign, it's like a legit campaign, but it's like, do you want to be a fucking rebel or do you want to be an Imperial dog or a pilot?
So here's what I heard, because I listened to a little bit of the developer interview, that this single player, you get to play as both, and at some point their stories are going to intersect. So I think there's going to be a lot of story if they are giving you enough agency or enough interest in the characters that they've created a second character that you also play as, and their stories intersect probably in some super huge space battle. That sounds awesome to me. But you don't get to choose. It's just it's a linear story, but the game walks you through being in the cockpit for both the Imperial and the Rebels.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good, man.
I hope so. I really do.
October 2nd, dude.
Yeah, I really do hope it's good. There's a fucking lot of games coming out in October, like right before the launch of the PS5, which is really strange. But
dude, VR,
I get it, I guess.
Dude, the VR compatibility with this game, if it's anything, did you play the Battlefront X-Wing mission?
I did not
on VR.
It, no, because I don't have.
Oh
I don't have
my
the first
god!
Battlefront game.
What's wrong with you? I got it for $5 just to play that. Jake, you're coming over and playing that because it'll blow your mind. If this game's anything like that, my god, it's going to be so good. Skate 3 was announced at the EA Play Conference, Jake. Think they have a very long way to go, though. Hopefully, the people who are excited for this game are also grounded in some sense of real life, because they didn't even show anything at the EA showcase. It was just two guys. They were like, yep, we're listening. We're going to do it. And that was it. They didn't see anything. We didn't see a logo. We didn't see even a screen grab. So that's interesting. So I think that they are very, very early on announcing this. I don't think we're going to get it till probably holiday 2021, if not 2022. But I mean, how long do you think it takes to develop a little game like Skate if the mechanics are already in place, saved somewhere in some data vault? It's a weird kind of game.
Hard to say. Yeah. I'm guessing that it'll probably take them a while. I wonder if they just kind of came out and announced this just in response to that other simulator
Skater XL?
Yeah, that's coming out.
Well, a lot of people, I think with all the attention Skater XL is getting, they probably realized that people wanted a skate game for a really long time, and they just didn't deliver for whatever reason. I was over at Forbes, and Forbes pointed out there were some things that we didn't see, which includes anything from BioWare at the EA Play Conference. So we know that a Dragon Age 4 has been in development for a while. I mean, Dragon Age 3 came out in 2013. So where's Dragon Age 4? We didn't see anything regarding a new Mass Effect game. There was some stuff. All BioWare titles were absent from this, which was kind of strange, I thought. So those must still be a long ways off. Any comment on that, Jake?
Dragon Age 4. It doesn't. To me, the freaking BioWare is going to have to crush it with the next game that they do, because they came out with Mass Effect Andromeda, which, while it functioned, was just not really that great compared to the previous three Mass Effect games. And then after that, they came out with Anthem, which was just a fucking wasteland of a multiplayer game. I know that they're revamping Anthem to make it better or whatever. They're going to, kind of try and maybe do like what they did with No Man's Sky Next and shit like that. Maybe try and like really bring the life back into it, which would be great for them to do. But Dragon Age Inquisition, like when I played that game, I never beat it because it's just kind of wonky. Like at least in Mass Effect, there was like some shooting and some interesting stuff going on there. But like, in my opinion, the combat and everything of Dragon Age was kind of wonky. And I thought
it was a little weird.
And so like, unless they like make a drastic change to how that game is, I personally don't really care all that much about the next Dragon Age game. If they come out and say like, oh, we're going to make freaking Mass Effect 4 or something, and oh, it's not a piece of shit, then, I might get interested. But as far as BioWare is concerned right now, I'm not going to get excited about anything they do until I see it come out and somebody say it's good.
Right. No, I agree. The weird thing about Anthem is like, I feel like BioWare's relationship with Anthem is like, they know that the relationship has gone sour. Like that game, I mean, the player base, I think, is so bad. It's so low. I think that they just know that like there's nothing there, but they've sunk so much money into it that they feel like it's a complete waste of time and money to not try to fix it. But by trying to fix it, you could be throwing more time and money into it. Like they need to learn to say it's time to let this one go. And it was a loss, I think, as far as Anthem goes. I don't think they're going to be able to resuscitate this game. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't think it's going to happen. Jake, Haze Light, which is a developer, announced a brand new game. Josef, I think his name is Josef, because it's spelled Josef. Fares, you guys know him. He's the guy who was on the Video Game Awards and started cussing out, saying it wasn't the Oscars. He has a very portfolio-esque video on the Sony YouTube page. It's like all about him. He's sitting on a stool. He's talking about, this is going to be the greatest game ever. This is the best thing I've ever made. You guys are going to blow your socks off. You know, that's how this guy is. He's full of charisma. It is what it is. He has a ton of energy. Always seems like he's on coke or something. I'm not saying that he is, or I don't encourage anybody to do drugs, but he always seems super, super wired, and his energy is probably really contagious. So good on him. But this new game that they're coming up with is called It Takes Two. Jake, this is a co-op action adventure platformer. For those guys who know, his studio was behind Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and they were also behind A Way Out, which I did not play, but I always thought it would be fun to play with you or with my brother, but I can never seem to get you introverts to play anything with me online, so I didn't get to have that experience. A Way Out actually requires co-op play to even play the game. And if one person buys it, you can both play it. He was quoted as saying, "This is an action adventure platform that will blow your fucking mind away," is what he says on the video. And he's so energetic. And he said the story is that it starts off with a small family. It is kind of interesting. I'll give him that. So let's get in. Starts off with a small family. Mom and dad are going to separate. The kid doesn't want him to divorce. So the kid essentially creates two voodoo dolls that then you control in the game, in the action platformer, and it controls mom and dad's real life emotions. And it just seems so weird that like that's the story. But as you play these platform levels, there's a story that unfolds based on what you're doing as the voodoo dolls. It's just a really crazy idea, and it's out there. And I got to hand it to him because it's kind of original. And the way that you play actually affects the relationship that's going on between mom and dad. So there's a kid trying to keep them both together. What I do like about his games is they always involve some sort of human connection, Jake. Like Brothers was about two kids. Way Out's about two brothers, Brothers about two brothers. Way Out's about two brothers, actually. It seems like his games always involve like some sense of family. But this game's supposed to be coming out in 2021. So what do you think about that idea?
I think it's definitely an interesting idea, and I hope that it's executed properly and that they make a really great game out of it.
The graphics look good.
My problem is I don't have a whole lot of I don't want to say patience is the right word, but like it's really hard to get me interested in these really like artsy-fartsy adventure games anymore. Like I used to be super into them. Even like Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, like by the time that game was over, I just wanted it to be over because the mechanics, while interesting and fresh and new, got really annoying after a few hours. Because you have to like control both brothers at the same time with you. Now, don't get me wrong, the story was cool and everything. You know, it was that part of it was great. You know, it's one of those things where I'd almost rather play I'd rather have the great story with the mechanics of, you know, like a Life is Strange or something like that, where it's a little bit more passive and you're just experiencing the story. But that said, I mean, you know, hopefully it's because it sounds like a really interesting mechanic. So I'm hoping that it translates into a really great game.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a linear story or not, but the things that you do on the platform, like the platform part of the game, seemingly affects the outcome of the story. So the thing that I like about Haze Light is they do interesting things. A Way Out was a 2-player game and you couldn't play it single player. And they even worked out some sort of arrangement so that when you bought it, the second person could play it for free with you. That probably took a bit of wheeling and dealing. Brothers, the controls were way unconventional. Like you said, you're controlling one brother with one thumb, the other brother with another thumb. Interesting, different. And I don't think this is going to be too far from the tree. I think we're going to get a really different experience with this game. So I have to give it to this guy because the ideas that he have aren't seemingly conventional. They seem to make relatively pretty positive games. So I'm just kind of curious. I'm just curious about it. I don't know much about it. Jake, as you know, I got sucked into the Division 2. There's a new raid coming, and the trailer can be found on the PlayStation YouTube channel. Moving forward, I just want to throw it out there for any Division 2 players. I don't know. I'll probably watch the trailer, but I don't think I'm going to jump back into that game. There's an interesting game coming out. I made you watch the trailer. It's called Lost in Random. Has a very Tim Burton-esque vibe, I think. It's coming out in 2021. It was shown at the EA Play event. EA Originals and Zoink are involved with it right now. And Zoink made the PSVR game Ghost Giant, which I really enjoy, but I didn't feel like the game was very fun. It had a great aesthetic, and the graphics were cool, and the lighting was cool, and it was neat to be in that world. It was a third-person VR game that told a story, and it was more of like a puzzle game. It was pretty high quality, and you tell they put a lot of time into it, but ultimately the game wasn't very fun.
Zoink did that game, Stick It to the Man. I played that, and I really liked that game. And they also made that game that I wanted to play, but I never got around to, called Zombie Vikings, which was more of like a Stick It to the Man aesthetic, but it was like Vikings, and the gameplay was more like Castle Crashers or something like that.
I will say that I've noticed a trend with games that look the way that Lost in Random looks aesthetically, is that they're always super pleasing to the eye. But generally speaking, for me, they tend to fall short on the gameplay aspect. So if they can marry good gameplay with this aesthetic and vibe and graphics and just the atmosphere, I think we're going to have a really special game here. You saw the trailer. Were you impressed by the way it looked? Like, it looked kind of neat, I thought.
Yeah, I think that the way that the game looked, it looked awesome. It looked like playing a Tim Burton game. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of these games. It started probably with Ratchet and Clank on PS4, where that, and even the new one, A Rift Apart, even more so, looks like a fucking Pixar movie just come to life, where it's interactive and everything.
Oh, it looks so good.
This kind of looks like a Tim Burton film came to life, like in full.
It's almost like claymation or something. Yeah, right.
Like it looks awesome. Like, I imagine, it'd be kind of cool as if, back in the day, they used to make video movie video games all the time. Like, imagine if now they came out with like this developer made like a Nightmare on Elm Street game. Or not Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, imagine how, if it was all, looked like the movie and shit, and it would just be so cool. Like, and this game looks like that, and I'm
impressed with it too. I've seen games that look this good, but they just don't seem to handle well. The controls seem real loose and stuff. So I just, like I was saying, I just hope that it plays well. Jake, that's all I have for the show. We can talk real quick. I'm going to list the games that they're coming out this week. I'm just going to name them off real quick for anybody who's interested in what's coming out on the PS4. This is from the Sony PlayStation blog. I am not going to talk about these games because I don't know a whole bunch about it. It does say, pardon our dust, in the coming months, you may notice the occasional discrepancy in this post as we're updating the back-end systems we pull game info from to populate the list. Game release date should be correct at the time of publication, but we still strive to correct any mistakes as they arise. Thanks for your patience. They are Assetto Corsa Competizione, I don't know what that is, Bounty Battle, Coaster, Conan Chop Chop, Covert, Firefighters, Airport Heroes, Hunting Simulator 2, Jump Step Step, Indie Calypse, Little Town Hero, Mad Runner, Octonaut, Pancake House, that sounds like the game pick for the month, for the week, Pawarumi, Party Pumper, Pushy and Pulley in Blockland, Rugby Challenge 4, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, that must be a re-release, Super Toy Cars 2, The Summer with Shiba Inu, Tower of Time, and Ultra Core. A lot of these games have parentheses and say EU only. Some say America's only. So, depending on where you're listening to this podcast, the games that I listed may or may not be available to you. That's all I got, Jake. There's nothing on that list that stands out to me. I'm probably nothing on there that stands out to you.
No, not really. I'm sure probably the reason why in those things are in parentheses now, as if you remember last week or the week before that, they were talking about how they are combining all the fucking PlayStation blog posts now for all the different territories.
Consolidating it all.
So that's just going to be something that's annoying that we're going to have to deal with from now on, where we have to like look and see which games are even available in the United States.
All right. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you today. Sorry again to the listeners for being a day late, $1 short, but we're here and we did not give up on you. And thanks for not giving up on us. Jake, do you have anything you would like to add before we close out?
No, I don't think so. I think that I've got everything that I need.
I'm happy to hear it. All right. So thanks again for tuning in. This has been episode 144. PS, this is awesome. Don't forget to share anything with us. And we also have a Twitter account. It's at PS, this is awesome. We had some people back in the day when we were doing this more consistently send us tweets. Feel free to do that. Hopefully we get notified of them. I don't really check it very often, but I will check and we'll see if we get any tweets this week. It'd be nice to have a little bit more interaction with our listeners. I know you guys are out there. Our subscriber base is growing on YouTube, and I'm excited about that. So, like The Last of Us Part 2, The Banner Saga, and The Evil Within, P.S. This is awesome.